It's low tide on Tarawa, the main atoll of the island nation of Kiribati. Tiatata and his 3 sons have just a few hours before the water returns.
There are no stones on the beach anymore. That's why we have to go far out. We need to get coral because the sea is flooding our house.
The home of Tiatata and his family of 12 is under threat. 10 years ago, they started building a wall made of coral.
When the water comes all the way up to here and there's a strong wind, that's when it's worst. The water bashes against our wall and sprays over our whole house. We have to build a higher wall so the water doesn't flood our home. In the past, our wall kept breaking because it was only this high. Now it's higher and more stable. It protects us from the sea. Many walls collapse at high tide, but we're lucky. Our wall's still standing.
In just 30 years, Tiatata's wall could cease to offer any protection from the sea. The island state of Kiribati is one of the lowest-lying countries on Earth. The narrow, unprotected atolls in the South Pacific are on average only 2 meters above sea level. The nation consists of 33 such atolls spread out between Hawaii and Australia. More than half its 100,000 residents live on the Tarawa Atoll, but for how much longer? Climate change is threatening the people of Kiribati. Sea levels are rising, storm surges and severe tropical storms are flooding the sparsely populated country with increasing frequency. For the locals, it's a question of survival. Climate change has national priority for the government of Kiribati. Choi Yeating has been the official climate commissioner since 2010. He's alarmed by the changes caused by climate change.
It is worrying that, the community has to live in these conditions, I would imagine, there would be a lot of sanitation problems, a lot of contamination of their drinkable water. Right now, we don't really have a king tide, or a rising sea, level during this period. But imagine when it does come, and that little seawall there is fully, submerged by water.
One day, the people of Kiribati will have to leave their country. The government has already purchased land on Fiji to provide them with refuge. Every day, Tatawa and his 3 brothers have to carry their fishing boat into the sea. It's hard work.
As you can see, this area's flooded. All this from here to all the way back there used to be beach. Now the beach is gone and the rocks are washed up. That's why we have to move our boat every day. Otherwise it would get smashed.
The family defies the rising sea levels with a coral wall that resembles a fortress.
The water is rising and rising. Eventually the land over there will disappear. But we'll stay and float like an island in the water.
Tatawa and his family have become a symbol of Kiribati's fight for survival. His mother, Moangtaya, and her granddaughter Anna often reminisce about the times before they were affected by climate change.
20 years ago, the sea was far away. We were safe back then, even at high tide. The water only reached this far. We used to have a lot of trees. Our land was much greener. We had no idea we'd have to live like this one day.
The access road has been flooded for years. The family can only leave their property by boat.
When I was little, life here was really good. There were lots of trees under which we played hide and seek. I've heard that other countries are causing climate change, but I don't hate those people.
I see it differently. The Western countries are doing many things to cause climate change. They're to blame.
All I can do is ask them to stop.
The sea is increasingly devouring unprotected tracts of land in the middle of the South Pacific.
This isn't a safe place for the future. When we have a high tide and a big storm, the water smashes into the sea wall and sprays over the top.
During storm surges, which occur once a month these days, the people of Kiribati are completely defenseless against the forces of nature.
I'm scared that the water will continue to rise. Maybe we'll have to leave here one day and live elsewhere if climate change gets worse.
A mangrove forest in the south of Tarawa. Their knots of thin, strong roots make these tropical trees the perfect protection against soil erosion. With a group of young people, climate activist Vasiti Tebamare wants to plant mangroves on the beach at Ambo during low tide.
We'll plant 15 rows.
You have to plant the mangroves a hand's width apart.
Vasiti has been organizing a growing number of such volunteer planting events.
Okay, these are the seeds from the mangroves, and we pick them up, and then these are the ones that we use to plant them, and then they grow again. We take 3 in case, because when we plant them, the waves will come and maybe 2 will be flooded away. At least 1 will stay and will live. So that's why we take 3 all the time.
The people of Tarawa have already planted more than 50,000 mangroves on the beaches of the atoll. The young people here have grown up with climate change. They're scared.
Sea level rising is very important impact to our island. And I just don't want to see my island get drowned under the sea.
Yes, in my village where I live, most of the houses are destroyed by the sea level.
The future prospects for Kiribati's young people are dire, but none of them want to leave their home.
I'm so proud to be a Kiribati. Even though what we face with, we're still proud of our country.
This is where we belong. It's our culture, our identity. That's why I think this is where our hearts belong.
The hope is that these mangroves on Ambo Beach will grow into a forest like the one that helps defy storm surges in the south of Tarawa. Protecting the coastline has become a national priority for the people of Kiribati. But there's no coherent plan, and the government lacks the funds for long-term infrastructure measures.